Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. For about the last month or so, we've been preparing for our two sows, Myrtle and Mildred, to have piglets. Well, just recently we found out that Mildred was not pregnant. She came back into heat, and actually our boar, Charlie, was pretty interested in getting over to her. If you haven't seen that video where we talk about him escaping and finding his way over to Mildred, go ahead and check out that video. But today we're focusing our attention on our other sow. Her name is Myrtle, and she will be giving birth hopefully sometime next week.
Yeah, Myrtle is about 7 to 10 days away from giving birth. That's what we think.
Right.
We don't know exactly when she'll have her babies, but we kind of have an idea.
So far this winter here in southern Missouri has been extremely mild. Today's supposed to be 50 degrees. And we've really thought that, hey, normally here in our part of the state, they consider January as really the only real month of winter. If we're going to get cold weather, it's normally sometime in January. So we figured, hey, we'll have the babies sometime in February, and we'll kind of be past that really cold stuff.
But before the really wet time of the spring.
Right. So we actually planned this pretty perfectly to have the babies right now in the middle of February. But of course, the weather doesn't always cooperate. Next week, the week that Myrtle is due, is actually supposed to be extremely cold. On next Thursday, the low is actually supposed to be 1, which is for us just unheard of here in this part of the state. We've got several nights in a row right there where the lows are either
in the single digits.
Digits, and the highs are barely out of the teens. So, despite the fact that we thought we were planning something really good by having the babies this time of year, it seems like we probably picked the worst week out of the entire winter for these babies to be born.
But you know us, we're always planning, we're always thinking of ways to work around obstacles. So today we're going to get her farrowing pen even more ready than it already is for her to have her piglets.
Right. We're going to create some windbreaks, we're going to add some heat lamps, and we're just going to try to make it as warm as we possibly can. We got a lot of work to do. This is the only nice day we're supposed to have in about the next 2 weeks, so we got to get as much done today as we can.
But I also want to tell you that near the end of this video, we're going to show you a project that Kevin and I did by ourselves off camera. We're revealing that to you today, so make sure you stick around for that too.
Right. All right, let's get to work. All right, before we get started, let's go inside. I'll show you guys again what the pens look like so that you can see what we're starting with and show you kind of an idea of what we're going to do today. So this is the inside pen area where she'll actually be having her babies. When we know that she's getting really close, we'll actually shut the gate and just keep her in this enclosed area. This area is 8 feet wide and about 12 feet, just under 12 feet long. So it's a good size area for her. You can see that, it's already got 2 pretty solid walls. This side here backs up to kind of a shed that's on the other side. And then this side here, although it does have, some gaps between the boards, for the most part is pretty much a windbreak, and it should keep most of the cold wind from coming around that way. So the sides that we really have to worry about is this side over here that divides this pen from the pen next to it, and then the front area. So those are 2 of the things that we need to do today, and then we're also going to kind of section off a piece where the babies can get away from Myrtle and go underneath a heat lamp. So we need to get all of that done today. I want to get that set up because we just don't know for sure when her due date is. So, we need to be prepared. If we're off, we could be off by, 4 or 5 days, and she could be having babies at the beginning of the week. We don't think so because we saw Charlie actually breed her, but you just never know. She was in with him for a few days before that, so we just need to make sure that we're ready because we've got some cold weather coming up. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of this metal roofing along the divider between the 2 pens. This will just create kind of a windbreak down at the ground level between the 2 pens. Looks like this piece is just a little bit too long, so we're going to have to cut just a little bit off of here. Let's take it back outside. We'll cut a few inches off the end of this, and then we'll be able to attach this. And this will just give, like I said, a nice windbreak down at the ground level where Mama and the babies will be. All right, I want to take just a minute to show you guys this awesome tool that I bought. I got this on Amazon. We do a lot of building on the homestead with old, used, rusty metal, and you know, they just old roofing panels and things just come in handy, but it's always a pain to cut. So I picked up this tool. It's called a Melco TSCM, and it is made to go on your impact driver or on your drill, and it just clamps on, and then it turns your drill or your impact driver into a tin snip for cutting this metal sheeting. And that is a time saver, and it keeps your hands away from all that sharp metal. It just works really well. All right, let's take this in and put it up and see if we can get this secured so it'll keep the babies and mama safe. Perfect. All right, I'm going to jump over to the other side there, hold that in the middle. We have the piece of metal tacked up here. Basically all I'm doing is I'm just putting a screw from this side, and on this side I have just some scrap pieces of 2x4, and I'll just hold it up to this metal fence. So nothing fancy, but it'll get the job done. And that'll hold it nice and tight. The next thing that we're going to do is block off the front. Now we already have a board that's cut to fit in this area because we used to have our rabbits here, and we used this board to create a windbreak for the rabbits in the winter as well. So this should be fairly easy to put this board back up. It'll go all the way from the ground all the way up to the roof line, and it's just a sheet of plywood. Alright, that'll create a nice windbreak here on the front. I'm just going to attach it to these T-posts that we have here to hold this side a little stronger on the inside. And once again, I'm going to be using some of this plumbing hanger. I'm telling you guys, it's the handiest thing we have around the whole homestead. That'll hold that tight there. Alright, last thing that we're going to do before we add some new bedding in here is kind of section off a corner with a heat lamp so that the babies really have a nice warm spot to go. Alright, so we've decided that this corner here is going to be the corner that we section off for the babies to have kind of a safe room, for a lack of a better word.
Warm.
It'll give them a way to get away from Myrtle, to be safe. One of the things that you worry about with pigs is that the mom will actually lay down and roll over on top of the babies. So by giving them an area that's nice and warm, they'll kind of naturally go to the heat, and then they won't be as prone to laying right next to mom and having her lay down on them and injure them. So that's the point of this, and it also will give them a good area to get out of this cold weather that we have coming up. So we're basically going to use a piece of plywood across here, and we're going to get it about 8 inches off the ground. That should give plenty of room for the little piglets to get underneath. All right, I think that'll be a good secure spot. Next thing that we're going to do is hook up a heat lamp that'll shine down into this area and really create a nice warm spot for them. Now for a heat lamp, we're just going to use a standard heat lamp, actually the same type that we use for our chickens when we brood chickens. It's just a metal heat lamp with a ceramic base and then a 250 watt red heat bulb in there. I think that should give off plenty of heat. We're going to secure this really well so that we can make sure that, there's absolutely no chance that anything can fall. They are a fire hazard, but if you secure them properly and use some precautions, everything should be just fine. So I think I have a plan. We already have some pieces of chain attached to this wall that we had from when we had our rabbits in here. They helped hold up the cages, and I'm going to use those to kind of create something across here and hang the light off of it. Swing.
True.
Yeah, I think that'll be perfect. We'll just tie the cord of the heat lamp around that.
There, I think that's good, don't you?
Yeah.
One thing we want to make sure to do is to make sure that this heat lamp is below the top level of this board, so that it creates a nice area where the heat cannot just completely escape before it gets to the piglets.
All right, let's go and see how that is. I think that'll be good. Let's plug it in and see what it does. Yeah, I think that'll be perfect.
Right.
I think that in general, this is going to be a good spot for the piglets, and they'll have a nice warm area to kind of cuddle up to in there. So I think for the most part, we are done with this farrowing area. The only thing we still have to do, which I'm not going to worry about so much today, is add some of the hog panel to the outside gate, just in the in the chance that they could get through one of these fences. We'll add some hog panel to that gate yet. And other than that, we are ready. I'm actually going to leave this heat lamp on because we don't know exactly when she's going to be giving birth, and we don't, and we have some cold nights coming up. I don't want to take the chance that we're going to miss and that we're off and that she has the piglets and we don't have the heat lamp on. So even though it's going to cost some money to run it, I want to err on the side of caution and leave it on from here until after the time that she has gives birth to those piglets.
Well, you may remember that we did a video where Myrtle and Mildred each were in one of these farrowing pens. When we realized that Mildred wasn't pregnant, we also realized that really there's no reason for her to be in one of these farrowing pens. Well, you'll also remember that recently we did a video where we built Charlie a new pen. Well, if Mildred isn't pregnant, we really want Charlie to still be with her to make sure that she really is pregnant, and if she comes back into heat, he's there right away and can breed her so we can get her pregnant. So Kevin and I decided to implement the next phase of our grand plan for all these pig pens. And he and I worked on the last piece of this project off camera a couple days ago. It's completely finished and we're excited to show you.
So this is the pen that Sarah and I built this week. This pen is 144 feet long and 38 feet wide. The reason that we built this pen is this will be the new permanent home for Myrtle and Mildred when they're not about to farrow. The nice thing about the placement of this pen, and really the reason we built it right here, is because it connects to the 2 farrowing pens. So when we do need to get them into an area to be able to have babies, they only have to walk through 1 gate. It's all connected, and they'll be able to have a nice secure place to have their babies. The other nice thing about this is the placement of it in relation to Charlie's new pen that we just did a video about a couple weeks ago. Let's walk down to the far end and I'll be able to show you that. You can see right now Charlie is still in the pen here with Mildred. We haven't moved him to his new pen. Sometime this weekend, if Mildred is going to come back into heat, it should happen. Pigs come into heat every 21 days, and this Saturday, actually the day that you guys are seeing this video, will be day 21. So if she's going to come back into heat, it'll be sometime this weekend, and we should see that because Charlie should want to mount her again. If he doesn't mount her at all this weekend, if it doesn't look like she's come back into heat, he'll be moving back to his own pen, and Mildred will have this pen to herself until after Myrtle's babies are big enough, and everybody can live out here until we get rid of the babies. You can see that we brought the shelter from the pen that we had back in the woods. We put that in here so Mildred and Charlie can have this shelter to stay out of the weather. This shelter is working out really, really well for them. And then I also dug them a wallow over here. As soon as we get some rain, it'll fill up. But honestly, in this cool weather, a wallow isn't absolutely necessary in cool weather, but in the summer, they'll absolutely love it. Let's walk down a little further. I'll show you a few more things that we did with this pen to make it a little more unique. We moved their feeding station from back into the woods up here as well. Again, these feeding stations are just absolutely awesome. I'm just so glad that we found this idea out. We actually learned this from the people that we bought our IPPs from. This is what they used, and I just thought it was such a great idea that I started using them myself. So we moved this out here. Now on this pen, I've attached 2 gates. We put an 8-foot gate on this side so that I can get in and out of this pen with the tractor if I want to. And then on the other side, we put a 4-foot gate so that we just have more of a walk-through gate when we need it. But this gate over here also serves another purpose, specifically to the breeding and when we need to move the pigs. So over on this side, this is Charlie's new pen, the one that he hasn't moved into quite yet. And then on this side, this is the new pen for Myrtle and Mildred. So from now on, when we need to move the pigs around for breeding, like when we need to put one of the sows in with Charlie, all we'll have to do is block off this area right here with a hog panel, and the end down there of this kind of lane here, we'll be able to open these gates and move the pigs back and forth between the 2 pens with only about a 10-foot walk. In the past, we've had the pigs pretty far apart, and it's just not been a fun experience having to move them around. Even though they're really friendly and for the most part they'll follow you, the thing with pigs is when they absolutely don't want to go somewhere, they're not going to go. The other nice thing about having these 2 pens in this configuration is that it makes a nice alleyway for us. If we need to put one of the pigs into a trailer for some reason, we can back the trailer right up to this area and we'll have a nice alleyway to be able to get them in. So I think that this system is going to work a lot better than what we've been doing in the past. Again, this is the first year that we've had breeder pigs. In the past, we've always just raised them, for a short time for meat, get them as piglets, raise them for the summer, butcher them in the fall, and be done. We didn't have to worry about raising them year-round or think so much about moving them all over the place like we do now. So we're learning as we go, but I think that this system is going to work out really well for us. All right, the last thing that we're going to do is I'm actually going to grab the tractor. We're going to bring a big bale of hay over for Charlie and Mildred. We have some old bales of hay. I'm going to bring them over so that they have something to keep them busy. And I think they'll probably just have a good time eating off this old bale of hay. So let's bring it over and see how they like it. Well, looks like Charlie's at least coming to check out the hay. Mildred is more concerned with sleeping right now. Look what I brought you, Charlie. Well, I'm not sure he thinks it's quite the treat that I thought he would, but I think over time they'll have fun tearing it apart and eating a little bit of it, using some of it as a bed. They'll have a good time with it. So, what do you think, Charlie? Yeah, he just wants to be scratched. Well, we thank you guys for spending some time with us today, getting things ready for these babies. Charlie, you don't know how big you are. If you're enjoying our videos, we hope that you'll hit that subscribe button before you go. Don't forget that the absolute best way that you can help us is by sharing our videos on all of your social media. And until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.